Morning. Something here must be discerned between the lines. The physical ear cannot hear truth any more than the physical tongue can utter it. Now then, if you are waiting for the second coming, you have already missed it. Waiting is the guarantee of missing. The kingdom of heaven can be lived only now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. We have been trained to gaze at horizons, to read signs, to mark calendars and study the stars, as if spirit keeps office hours and arrives on the noon train. It does not. My kingdom is not of this world. Hear that, not with the ear, but with the soul. Not of this world, not even an improved this world, not even a perfected this world. Therefore, no event in this world can deliver it. Not a trumpet, not a cloud, not a crisis. Nobody brings the kingdom by spectacle. The kingdom appears as consciousness awakened to its own source. Now, let us say it plainly so there is no misunderstanding left in this room. The second coming is the appearing of Christ consciousness within you, and it is always now. The Christ does not travel across distances or lift in from a far corner of time. Distance and time belong to a realm in which God is not found. Do you hear this? God does not enter the human scene to fix it or decorate it. Those that worship God must worship in spirit and in truth. And that is a now act, a present apprehension, not a plan, not a program, not an argument. Waiting is a confession that your life is still lived under human law. It is the devotion to a non-existent tomorrow. Can you live a minute from now? Try. You cannot. A minute from now is a vacuum, uninhabited, unbreathable, unlivable. Whenever the rose blooms, it is now. Whenever grace is felt, it is now. Every breath of the soul is now. Therefore, every postponement is a denial. It says, Christ is not, Christ will be. And with that single sentence, the door closes. The truth is, I am, not I was, not I shall be, I am. You and I have been taught to bargain with time because we were children of cause and effect, of plans and punishments, of someday and sooner or later. In that school, we became expert at promising ourselves a better world. We labored at cleaning up the scene so God might approve of it and visit it. But my kingdom is not of this world. It is not the carrot at the end of the human stick. It is not the payoff for correct behavior or correct theology. It is the already is of being, discerned in the instant your inner noise stops. In that split second of silence, there rushes the truth, not words, not proof. Presence. Now then, do not think we are gathering here to argue points of doctrine, to trade quotations, or to weigh Greek tenses as if the syllables could deliver the life. No, we will press Scripture until it bleeds experience. We will stand under its words until the words fall away and a living reality stands in the room, not seen with eyes, not heard with ears, but known. And when it is known, not one of you will consult a calendar to ask if the coming has occurred. You will laugh at the question. It will be as if someone asked if the sun will come when you are already standing in its light. I speak with urgency because time thinking is tyranny. It binds even the devout. It says, I am looking for Jesus to come, while Jesus stands at the door of your consciousness knocking, and you, measuring the future, do not open. That knock is now. The door is now. The room is now. The guest is within. But as long as the personal eye is arranging and expecting and scanning the horizon for a grand arrival, the subtle appearing goes unseen. The physical eye looks outward. The soul register looks inward. The physical ear listens for announcements. The heart knows the word before any syllable forms. The revolt in you must be total. Give up your romance with tomorrow. It has given you nothing but anxiety and postponement. And give up yesterday with equal ruthlessness. The report of yesterday, your sins, your victories, your failures, none of it can usher the Christ into the now. The moment you attempt to live by yesterday's memory or tomorrow's promise, you have stepped out of the kingdom and into a vacuum. Now then, be still. Be still not as a technique that lures a result in 5 minutes, but because stillness is the climate of the kingdom. You are not bartering with God. You are ceasing to bar God by your noise. There is a correction to make this very hour. Stop searching the sky for a date. Stop counting rumors. Stop reading the newspapers to locate prophecy. Every outward search is an identification with the human scene. Cause and effect, law and penalty rise and fall. The Christ does not traffic there. The Christ appears where you are no longer insisting on being a little sovereign over a future. The Christ appears when the personal I yields. And in that yielding, you do not become helpless. You come under government, grace, not law. We will speak more of that. For now, let this be established. The coming cannot be waited for, because the coming is the nature of being itself shining now. I do not ask you to believe me. Belief lives in the mind, and the mind cannot hold the infinite. I ask you to be quiet enough to discover whether, in this very breath, without ornament, without argument, there is not a presence that has nothing to do with your calendar. If it is there, even as a whisper, even as a weightless warmth, then the coming is not a doctrine to defend or a drama to behold. It is the secret you carry, the life you are, the I that is I, now. Now then, let us place a stake in the ground that no one in this room may pull up. My kingdom is not of this world. That is not poetry. That is not a comforting metaphor. That is the line across which all religious dreaming must cease. If it is not of this world, it cannot be delivered by this world. No dates, no headlines, no politics, no disasters, no astronomy. Not even a flawless alignment of planets will roll back the veil of sense and reveal spirit. Nobody. The things of sense produce only the things of sense. That which is born of the flesh is flesh. My kingdom is not of this world. You see the contradiction we have entertained. We have wanted a spectacle in the marketplace to vindicate a secret of the soul. We have wanted an occurrence in time to prove a reality outside of time. We have wanted an improved human scene to be mistaken for the kingdom. It is like expecting the mirror to apply cosmetics to the face. The mirror reflects. It never acts. The human scene reflects states of thought. It does not birth spirit. Spirit is, and it is not in the mirror. Hear this with that inner organ that is not the ear. The human scene is appearance, shifting picture, cause and effect, rise and fall. Good today, reverse tomorrow. Every law of that scene is dual, gain and loss, birth and death, health and sickness, peace and war. If you remain within that law, you remain within its penalties. You can petition it. You can try to manipulate it. You can try to clean it. But you will not find God there. There is no God in that scene. Those that worship God must worship in spirit and in truth. My kingdom is not of this world. Now then, if it is not of this world, where is it encountered? Do not point outward. Do not look to the sky, or to Jerusalem, or to Rome, or to a teacher's chair. Lo here, or lo there, is the language of those asleep in appearance. The kingdom is a realm, not a region, a state of consciousness, not a longitude and latitude. It is entered, not delivered. Entered. Entered by an inward yielding that has nothing to do with the tick of clocks or the page of calendars. Whenever the rose blooms, it is now. Whenever the kingdom is realized, it is now. Never yesterday, never tomorrow, now. Consider the insanity of our bargain. We say, prove the inward by the outward, as if the tide must consult the sand to discover ocean, as if the principle of mathematics must appear as a parade through the city before 2 and 2 can be 4. No. The principle is the figures display. The life is the forms illustrate. When you live in the principle, the figures align themselves automatically. And if they do not, you do not correct the principle. You return to it. Likewise, here. If harmony is not yet apparent in the scene, do not call for a cosmic cataclysm to fix it. Return to the realm where harmony is the law of being. My kingdom is not of this world. Either this is an inward kingdom or it is a myth. There is no third. It cannot be both a secret within you and a timetable outside you. If you attempt to hold both, you will be forever torn, chanting within while peering at the weather, affirming spirit while counting the headlines. The minute you lean into outward proof, you hand yourself back to the laws of the marketplace. And under those laws, please accept this, God is not found. You will have contests, you will have anxieties, you will have alternations, but you will not have the government of grace, not there, not of this world. Do not mistake me, we do not hate this world. We simply refuse to make it God's dwelling place. We remain in it, we work in it, we love in it, but we do not draw life from it, purpose from it, or prophecy from it. We do not wait for it to improve so that God may arrive. God arrives only where God eternally is, at the center of being. And the center of being is not a street corner. It is not a sanctuary made with hands. It is your consciousness when it is not claiming private sovereignty. It is your awareness when it is not posturing as I, me, mine. The personal I is the guard at the gate that keeps the kingdom as a rumor. My kingdom is not of this world and not of the personal I. Now then, accept the simplicity. If the kingdom were a world event, the worst among us could be saved by sitting on a curb and waiting. If the kingdom were a headline, the spiritually lazy would be the first to awaken. Is that how spirit deals? Never. Spirit requires worship in spirit and in truth. Spirit compels an inner honesty. No more games with time, no more bargaining with signs. The Christ is not a traveling celebrity visiting towns to sign autographs. The Christ is the light of your own being, coming to its own. And it comes when there is room. Room made by silence, room made by surrender. Not a performance, not a hysteria. Presence. Look with me at the logic that will not yield. The world operates by effect to cause. We see effect and we suppose cause. We read the newspaper and say, this is happening, therefore God must be about to act. Impossible. God is not a punctuation mark in human sentences. The realm of God is cause alone. Pure isness, the I am that I am. When that I am is realized even as a whisper, then affects a line as naturally as daylight follows dawn. But you will never get the dawn by arranging street lamps. You will never get the kingdom by arranging events. Let us bring this home to this room. Not one in this room needs a better world to find the kingdom. Not one. And not one in this room will find the kingdom by improving the world. Improve the world if you must. Feed it, heal it, mend its fences, but do not take your eyes off the fact that none of that is the door. The door is the secret place of the Most High. The door is that instant in which you are no longer pushing the river, no longer counting tomorrows, no longer staging a scene for God to enter. In that instant, without an announcement, without a light show, the realm that is not of this world discloses itself as your own life. Now then, let this be settled as our foundation. A kingdom not of this world cannot arrive by any device of this world. Therefore, stop waiting for thunder to validate the lightning within. Stop waiting for the calendar to certify the eternal. Stop waiting for nations to behave before you will believe. Either you will enter the kingdom by the only door open within, or you will remain a clerk of appearances balancing the books of good and evil, forever bankrupt because spirit is not on that ledger. Choose, spirit or sense, now or time, within or without, and let the choice be made not by lips, but by the split second in which thought stops and being stands revealed. Now then, let us face the tyrant that wears a halo and calls itself holy patience someday. Someday is the last disguise of the personal I. Someday is the licensed postponement of surrender. Someday is the religion of the anxious heart. And it is all nothing. Nothing. Not one spiritual experience has ever occurred yesterday. Not one will occur tomorrow. You cannot ship grace back into memory, and you cannot pre-order it for delivery next Tuesday. Grace is presence. Presence is now. Therefore, every turn to yesterday or tomorrow is a turn away from the only place where the Christ appears, here, now. Try it and see the absurdity. Try to live 1 minute from now, not imagine it, live it. Try to breathe a minute from now. Try to eat a minute from now. Try to love a minute from now. The minute from now does not exist. It is a vacuum, an uninhabited mathematical point where nobody lives, where no rose blooms, where no God is known. And try to live 1 minute ago. Catch the breath you took. Spend again the coin you already spent. Kneel at last night's altar and warm your hands at yesterday's fire. You cannot. Whatever you think you bring from there is picture memory, and picture memory is not presence. The physical ear cannot hear truth any more than the physical tongue can utter it. Likewise, the memory cannot hold spirit any more than the imagination can import it. My kingdom is not of this world, not of the yesterday world, not of the tomorrow world. Now, someday is the opiate of the personal I, because it keeps that I sitting on its throne, directing, promising, controlling. I will surrender when the children are grown. I will be still when I finish this project. I will trust when the account is full. I will open when the world improves, when signs align, when leaders behave, when the body cooperates. Do you hear the joke? I. The I that would manage grace, schedule God, and approve the conditions under which spirit may reveal itself. Impossible. The second you move into conditions, you have moved into law, cause and effect, penalties and rewards. The second you plan spirit, you have evicted spirit. There is only the now in which the personal I stops, if only for a hair's breadth, and in that hair's breadth the Christ announces nothing and yet is recognized. Now then, do not fight this as if it were severe. Accept the mercy of it. If the kingdom required a better yesterday, the sinner with a ruined record would be barred. If the kingdom required a perfected tomorrow, the weary with no strength to strive would be barred. Spirit bars no one because spirit lives in the only instant that ever is. That is why the Master could say, "Today thou shalt be with me in paradise." Not tomorrow, not after you tidy your life. Today, which is to say, now. Someday is the voice that says, "Another hour and I will turn." The Christ stands and says, "Turn," and it is another hour. Notice what happens the moment you step into time thinking. Anxiety appears, pressure appears, accounts to settle, people to move, scenes to adjust. Why? Because the personal I has returned to the helm, and with it comes the law of this world. Do this to get that. Delay this and you might miss that. Hurry up lest opportunity pass. Fear is the confession. I live by time and I am on my own. Faith, true spiritual faith, is not a position in thought. It is the absence of that confession. It is the relaxation that occurs only when you are not leveraging yesterday and not bargaining with tomorrow. If there is fear in you, accept that you have stepped out of now. Do not argue. Do not explain. Step back. Be still until the now is again the only climate of your being. We have used the word transition, and I wish to place it before you not as a drift, but as a point. There is a definite moment, 10 o'clock in the morning, midnight, 3 in the afternoon, when this stops being a philosophy and becomes a life. That moment is never in the future, and it is never located in the past. It is the point at which you stop constructing thought bridges into what is not. And for a split second, there is no future to improve and no past to defend. In that split second, without words, without mental proof, There rushes the truth. Not a statement of truth, not a verse carried forward from memory, but the presence that has no syllables. And from that presence, life reorganizes itself without your personal engineering. The straight and narrow in this is terribly simple and terribly exacting. Not later, not when the signs line up, not when the body stops hurting, not when the bank agrees, not when the doorbell rings with the right guest. Now in the doctor's office, now in the traffic, now in the argument, now beside the bed that kept you awake last night, now in the moment you feel least spiritual and least prepared. There is no preparation for now, there is only entrance. Preparation belongs to time, entrance belongs to spirit. We prepare because we believe grace can be earned. We enter because we discover grace is. Do not make a problem of your history. Yesterday's failures have no keys to this door. Yesterday's victories have no claim on this hour. Spiritual photographs cannot be reanimated. Many of you have had what you call mountaintop moments, and you have tried to replicate them by revisiting their scenery. It will never work. The mountain didn't make the moment. The moment made the mountain, and the moment is available in your kitchen sink and in your office chair and in the bus that lurches through town. The only altitude that matters is the dropping of the personal I, and that can be an inch or a mile. It is the same when it happens now. When you hear the mind whisper, soon, answer it with the only honesty that frees. No, now. When you hear the world chant, watch the signs, answer, my kingdom is not of this world. When you catch yourself constructing a better scene to lure the spirit, stop as you would stop your hand from touching a hot stove. Return to silence. Let a thought end without grabbing the next one. In that teeny gap, so small you will feel foolish trusting it, lives the entire kingdom. Organized religions have built cathedrals to house what fits inside a breath. Do not despise the smallness, enter it. And so we agree, here in this room, to end the romance with someday. We will not wait for calendars to give us permission to know God. We will not consult yesterday's ledger to approve grace, and we will not draft tomorrow's contract to negotiate it. We will be poor enough in spirit to let go of time as our security, and rich enough in Christ to live by presence. Then watch what follows, not as proof and not as bait, but as the natural daylight after dawn. Less fear, less hurry, less condemnation, less need to be right, more quiet government, more effortless rightness of place, more unscheduled help. But all of that is seen. Do not attend to it. Attend to the only holy obligation you have, to abide now, until the split second becomes a climate, and the climate becomes your home. Now then, we must hear a sentence that cannot be heard with the ear. The kingdom of God cometh not with observation, neither shall they say, lo here, or lo there. For behold, the kingdom of God is within you, not in the sky, not in the street, not in the temple within. If you have any part of you still looking out to spot a caravan of angels or a signal in the heavens, you have missed the plainest direction ever given. Not with observation, do you hear? The physical eye cannot see this, and the physical ear cannot hear it any more than the physical tongue can utter it. It is discerned between the lines, behind the words, in the core of being where spirit recognizes itself. Within is not psychology. Within is not daydreaming. Within is not self-improvement. Within is the axis of reality, spirit knowing spirit, the is of God finding itself at the center of your awareness, when your awareness is not pretending to be a little sovereign. My kingdom is not of this world, therefore it can only be realized at the point in you that is not of this world either. Do not look for longitude and latitude. Look for the end of the personal I. Look for that instant when you have no opinion to defend, no time to manage, no virtue to parade, and into that vacancy the light dawns. not as a scene, not as a sentence, but as presence. We must reframe the very word, coming. Coming is not Christ traveling from far space or late time. Coming is the dawning of what already is through the veils of personal sense. The sun does not approach the earth because you parted the curtains. The sun was already blazing. You merely stopped believing in the curtain. So with the Christ is not approaching your city. The Christ is not looking for parking on your street. The Christ does not consult your calendar. The Christ is the life of God as your life, veiled only by the fog of I, me, mine. The second, the fog thins, if only for a breath. The light is seen not to have come, but to have been. Now then, belief is not realization. You can recite orthodox creeds from dusk till dawn, and at sunrise be as hungry as you were at dusk. You can print "The Kingdom is Within" on 1,000 posters and still wait for a sign outside your window. Belief arranges words in the mind. Realization ends waiting because realization is immediate. Immediate not as speed, immediate as nature. The truth, when it is truth to you, is not future. It is I am. Not I will be, not I was, I am. And in that I am, waiting has no oxygen. You may still be standing in the same room with the same furniture and the same unpaid bills, but the government of your life has changed in the split second that presence is known. The criterion is experiential, and it is inward. Not one of you will know this by a better argument. Something inside the soul must respond. Something so quiet the world thinks it is nothing. One thought ceases, just one. In that unguarded pause, no petition, no mechanism, rushes the truth. Not necessarily a statement of truth, but the spirit itself. A sense that is not sense. A hearing that has no ear. A seeing that has no eye. And with that, the earth melts. Not the planet, but the heaviness of self-care, the drag of future, the complaint of past. This is not imagination. Imagination is still you at the helm. This is the end of you at the helm. Scripture directs us with a precision we have ignored because we preferred drama to discipline. Enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. Do you hear the geometry of it? Closet, withinness. Shut the door. No observation. No low here, no low there. Father in secret, unseen, unpictured, unheard by senses, known in spirit. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. What door? The door of consciousness, not your front porch. The knock is now, and it is inside. Those that worship God must worship in spirit and in truth, not in headlines, not in smoke and promise, not in the churn of events. My kingdom is not of this world. Therefore, let us make a clean break with the seduction of outer evidence. End time charts, beast maps, trumpet timelines. These are entertainments for those who cannot endure the stillness of within. They are anesthesia for the personal I that dreads surrender. The Master removed every excuse. The kingdom of God cometh not with observation. If you are observing, you are outside. If you are outside, you are postponing. If you are postponing, you are living in the vacuum we have already exposed, yesterday and tomorrow. Now then, if within is true, your practice is settled. Stop turning pages in the sky. Turn within. How? Not with a labor, not with a performance, with a cessation. Stop. In the middle of your sentence, stop. In the middle of your planning, stop. Let one thought end without sponsoring a successor. Do not reach for a holy phrase as bait. If a word rises of its own accord, Father, Spirit, I, let it be a resting place, not a lever. Sit a moment in that doorless center. You may call it the secret place of the Most High. You may call it the altar. You may call it nothing at all, but sit. And if there is only emptiness, bless the emptiness. It is safer than your best thought. In that willingness to remain unadorned, the veil thins. Not always with sensation, never with spectacle, with recognition, the simple "oh," and you will know why you could never hear this with the ear. You will be tempted, of course, to bring the personal I into the closet to be sanctified. It will want to report, to measure, to certify. Was that it? How much? How long will it last? Silence that one as you would silence a gossip in your home. Nobody measures God. Nobody grades grace. The very attempt is a return to law, to cause and effect, to weights and measures in the marketplace. Leave the marketplace outside. Close the door. Let the simple I am stand without adjectives. Let being be. When the personal I does not interfere, the Christ appears, not coming, but appearing, not traveling, but revealing, not entering, but being recognized. You ask, how will I know? You will know because the waiting stops. The nervous monitoring of world conditions stops. The itch to convince your neighbor stops. The compulsion to fix tomorrow stops. There is a quiet government that does not consult you. There is a settledness about your very breathing. And if you go out from that closet and find that the outer scene still has rough edges, you will not regard them as evidence against spirit. You will know what we have been saying as law. The scene reflects, it never births. You will return to the within, not to engineer effects, but because it is home. And as surely as dawn brings daylight without argument, so this abiding lets forms arrange themselves without your tyrant hand. Now then, let us seal this in this room. The second coming is the inner appearing of Christ within consciousness. If you keep looking for it, you are saying it is not already here. If you keep arguing for it, you are saying it is not already true. Drop argument, drop looking, drop the little sovereign who must witness an outer parade. Turn, shut the door, be still until the split second reveals the timeless. When it does, you will not call anyone to ask if it happened. You will not check the calendar. You will not need proof. You will stand where you have always stood but never noticed within, and you will whisper, "Thank you, Father, not to earn, not to persuade, but because gratitude is the only clean word left when the light has dawned." And having tasted that, you will know where the kingdom is, where the coming is, and where to live. Here, within, now. Now then, let us call a witness who knew this not as doctrine but as life. Paul did not say, "Christ for you someday." He said, "Christ in you, the hope of glory." In you while the ship is breaking, in you while the prison door clangs, in you when the body aches, not a visitor from the outer courts, the very life within the life. And then he said a sentence that the ear cannot hear because it undoes the one who wants to hear it. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Do you catch what collapses there? The personal I, its titles, its anxieties, its virtue strutting, falls through a trapdoor, and only the living Christ remains as identity. Not I, Christ in you. The secret is not that a majestic person will ride down a boulevard of clouds to endorse our private plans. The secret is that the Christ, which is the life of God, is already the life of you, waiting only for the personal claimant to step aside. The obstruction is not distance. The obstruction is not ignorance of verses. The obstruction is the little sovereign that says, I who plan, who judge, who compare, I who deserve or despair, I who measure progress with a ruler made of time. That I is a veil stitched of high ideals and low fears, of memory and forecast, of praise and blame. And while it holds court, the indwelling Christ remains a rumor to you, though it is closer than breath. We must be exact. Either that I governs or grace governs. There is no third. When the personal I governs, law rules you, cause and effect push and pull deadlines and dread. You awaken into the courtroom of self and immediately begin pleading cases, health versus sickness, supply versus lack, status versus humiliation. There is always a ledger and there is always fear because the I that judges also stands condemned by its own measurements. But when grace governs, there is a different government entirely. Plans yield to guidance, strain yields to poise, supply appears without your bravado and without your confusion. The scene may still show yesterday's furniture, but the air has changed. Peace that is not of this world, do you see? My kingdom is not of this world, and its peace does not arrive by fixing worldly balances. It appears as the life of Christ recognized as your life. Now then, tough love. No one in this room is barred from God by lack of information. Nobody. I read the books. I memorized the sentences. I quoted louder than the next student, and all the while the I that read and memorized and quoted stood with its back against the door, guarding its throne. Truth is not withheld by heaven. Truth is crowded out by the personal I. You say, I need a better teacher. No, you need a smaller I. You say, I need a more convincing proof. No, you need less appetite for proofs and more willingness to be nothing. You say, I am not ready. That is the I preserving itself by postponement. The Christ requires no readiness but your absence as ruler. Consider Paul's other word, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who made himself of no reputation. No reputation. Do you hear what that does to the I that boasts of being spiritual, learned, devoted? The mind of Christ is not a file of superior ideas. It is a mind unoccupied with self. Not self-improvement, self-emptiness. The personal I longs to be sanctified, decorated with verses praised for its humility. But the way is not the promotion of that I. The way is the collapse of that I, after which humility is not a virtue but the atmosphere of reality. Then I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me is not a booster slogan. It is a description of what occurs when no private doer stands in the way. Let me give you a picture. Put a poster of the sun over your window and then complain that the room is dim. Bring in more lamps. Read treatises on light. Argue with the darkness or take down the poster. The sun needed no invitation. It needed an unobstructed window, so with Christ in you. The poster is the I, its self-importance, its fears, its comparisons. Take it down, not with a chisel, not with a 6-hour fight, with a surrender that says, I do not need to be right. I do not need to be seen. I do not need the last word. In that undefended instant, light floods without your doing. Do not ask, how shall I keep the I from returning? The question is the I rehearsing its next entrance. There is no permanent technique. There is only fidelity to the realm that is not of this world. The personal I is a reflux of time. It lives by yesterday and tomorrow. Each time you detect the tightening, comparison, calculation, craving, recognize it as the return to law. Do not condemn it. Do not explain it. Step back into the only sanctuary that has ever existed. This is not a movement of argument. It is a movement of stillness. A thought ends. Just one. There is a gap so small you cannot boast of it. In that gap, the I that was building its case has nothing to stand on, and in that nothing, Christ. Some of you will protest, but if I do not plan, if I do not judge, life will fall apart. It is already apart. That is why you feel the need to clutch it. Planning in spirit is not the same as planning in fear. Judgment in spirit is not the same as judging from hurt. When grace governs, actions still occur. Appointments are made, bills are paid, children are fed. But the motion is not born of panic. It is born of an inner government that speaks softly and is obeyed. Paul traveled. He preached. He mended tents. But he did not live as an independent I aiming to add Christ to his portfolio. He lived, yet not I. He endured prisons and storms, yet not I. That is the secret. Do not ask for a stormless sea. Ask that the doer dissolve until even bailing water is an act of grace. Now then, let this be as clear as we can make it. The second coming is not greater fireworks, it is greater transparency. As the personal eye thins, the already present Christ stands visible to your own awareness. The proportion is exact. Keep much eye, see little Christ. Keep little eye, know much Christ. Do not flatter yourself that a better argument will accomplish this. Words finish their duty only when they land you in the wordless place. And there, in that split second where no private voice is narrating, the mystery that Paul named ceases to be a mystery. Christ in you, not approaching, not promising, being. In the next breath, we will take up the how of this with more precision, though it is not a how that flatters the mind. It is not a technique to polish the eye. It is the inner mechanism that halts it, the split second of silence. For now, accept the economy of heaven. Either the personal eye governs under law, or Christ appears within under grace. Choose neither with lips nor with vows. Choose by yielding the very chooser. And in that unguarded now, discover that what you sought to invite has never been absent, and what you fought to preserve has never been you. Now then, let us take this up at the only level where it works, not as idea, as event. There is a moment smaller than a breath when a thought stops, and there is no immediate successor to take its throne. In that interval, call it a crack, a hush, a split second, rushes the truth, not a sentence of truth, not a well-formed prayer. The Spirit itself, a knowing that does not pass through the ear, a seeing that does not enter by the eye. It is the appearing of what already is when the personal narrator falls silent. That is the whole of this mechanism. It is too simple for the proud, and it is sufficient for the poor in spirit. The physical tongue cannot utter truth any more than the physical ear can hear it. Words are scaffolding. At best, faithful scaffolding that allows you to stand near the place where you can no longer stand. Statements of truth are not truth. They are fingers pointing, good fingers when they point you inward, terrible fingers when they keep you busy admiring the hand. The word God spoken 10,000 times is still a sound in air. The word Father whispered once in spirit without claimant is not a word at all. It is recognition. Do not despise language. Use it. But when language has delivered you to the brink of silence, do not import another sentence to interrupt the birth. Notice how the personal eye loves to memorize ladders. If I repeat this affirmation, if I visualize this scene, if I marshal these verses in this order, God will come. God does not come. God is. My kingdom is not of this world, and technique is of this world when it is used as leverage. Affirmations have one holy task: to walk you to the desert and leave you there without water except the living water, which no man can draw. If a phrase arises, let it be a doorway, not a wall. The moment it becomes a drumbeat to pressure God, silence it. Nobody coerces grace. The minute you try, you are back under law, conducting commerce with the infinite. And there is no commerce in the kingdom. How then do we let this happen? Not by doing, but by ceasing to interrupt. Right where you are, do not adjust the furniture of the outer scene. Do not hunt a quiet room if that search is another excuse for someday. Enter the closet within. Shut the door, not later, not better, now. Let one breath be unclutched. Let the future drop not as a project but as a permission you withdraw from your mind. I give you no right to rehearse tomorrow. Let the past fall, not as a denial but as a simple acknowledgement. It is not here. Accept the vacancy that remains when your private commentary goes off the air. Do not improve it. Do not decorate it with holy incense in thought. Wait, without strain, without stopwatch. A thought ends. Do not replace it. There, Do you feel the lightness at the center, the unguardedness? That is the door standing ajar. You will be tempted in the first seconds to evaluate the silence, to check its strength, to take its temperature. That temptation is the personal I attempting to sit as judge again. Close the court. You are not the examiner of God. You are not the curator of experience. Dismiss yourself. If a word floats up of its own grace, Father, I, Spirit, rest in it as you would rest cheek against a doorway. Do not use it as a lever to pry the door open. The door opens because no one is pushing. The opening is the appearing, and the appearing is not an arrival but a revealing. What, you ask, marks the difference between a quiet mind and this holy hush? Listen from the heart. In a quiet mind, there is still the planner at the desk, pen in hand, enjoying a minute of calm before he takes up the next file. In the holy hush, the planner is absent. The desk is absent. There is no pen poised to resume. There is simply presence and the subtle yet unmistakable awareness that governance has shifted. You are not self-governed. You are not representing your life to God, proposing plans, seeking authorization. You are governed. You do not know what will be said next, and there is no anxiety about that ignorance. It is not apathy, it is relief. This is the sign, not fireworks, not trance, not tremor, relief and rightness without premise. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Do not try to stretch this second into a minute. That is time returning to run the meeting. Let the second be sufficient to itself. The rose does not strain to prolong the instant of blooming. It is simply now. Each time the thought machine winds up, as it must in the human scene, bless it for revealing your return to law and withdraw its credentials. Stop. Let a thought end, just one. Again and again until what was a second becomes a climate, until the habit of interruption weakens and the habit of entrance strengthens. Do not count. Counting belongs to tomorrow. Abide. Abiding belongs to now. You will discover, if you are honest and patient, that speech changes. You will find fewer words leaving your lips, and those that do will come after the hush, not before it. Counsel will arise as if it were given to you from behind you. You will turn to speak and already know, without proof, what to say or not say, when to move and when to be still. Plans will happen, yes. Forms will arrange, yes. But the inner atmosphere will be different. No personal heroism, no private dread. This is the appearing. This is the second coming as lived fact. The Christ that is your life stands evident to your awareness, and evidence is not demanded from the scene. Beware the craving for signs to certify what spirit has already certified. The minute you ask for an outer stamp, feeling, heat, vision, omen, you hand the keys back to observation, and the kingdom cometh not with observation. If something gentle accompanies the hush, a warmth, a sense of wideness, let it be, neither clutched nor advertised. The proof of grace is grace. The result of recognition is recognition. Effects in the scene are not payment for prayer. They are reflections in time of a reality that is not in time. Keep your regard turned within to the presence itself. Let the earth melt on its own schedule. I know what you will say. I tried and nothing happened. Nobody ever tried their way into God. Trying is strain. Strain is the confession that you are still the operator. The practice here is surrender, not effort. The teacher is silence, the lesson is silence, the diploma is silence. Let it insult your pride. Let it be too small for your showmanship. Go again into the closet that is not a room. Close the door that is not a plank. Relinquish the future that does not exist. Release the past that cannot be found. Allow one thought to end with no successor. In that split second, without your mediation, a knowing brighter than the sun makes no announcement and yet leaves you unable to doubt. That is the coming, not explained, not predicted, not broadcast, realized. Now then, be practical with it. You do not need to leave your desk or your sink. You need not find holy music or a holier hour. The kingdom has no hour, the kingdom is. You are asked only to be poor enough in spirit to make room for what is already present. Several times each day, and particularly the moment you feel the surge of fear or the itch of control, stop. Return to the split second. If it is dry, bless the dryness, it keeps you honest. If it is sweet, bless the sweetness, do not hoard it. Let the rhythm of your day become this. Do what appears to be yours to do, but never as one who must make life turn out. Return to the hush until the governor within is again felt governing, and when it is, rest your case. Leave the scene to follow. In that way, this simple, exact way, the myth of a distant advent collapses, and the living Christ, unheralded by trumpet or chart, stands where you stand, not as information, as presence. And the world, with all its noise, may continue to shout about tomorrow while you quietly, steadily, invisibly live by a kingdom that does not arrive but is discovered the instant no one is insisting on it. Now then, hear this as literally as the soul can hear. There is a point, definite, dated in the heart, when what you have been studying ceases to be a teaching and becomes a life, not gradually. Not because you collected the right sentences in the right order. At some moment, 10 o'clock while washing dishes, midnight between sobs, 3 in the morning as you stare at a ceiling, something in you lets go. A thought ends and does not find a successor. In that drop, the operator steps down, the throne is unoccupied, and the government changes. From that point, you are under grace, not under law. You live, yet not you. Christ lives in you as governance. Up to that point, you were doing fine humanly. You were reading, thinking, declaring, pleading. You were trying to be good and get good and keep good. That whole regime belongs to law, cause and effect, seed time and harvest, calendars, budgets, and fears. Under law, you are responsible for making life come out right. You decide, you press, you worry. You are forever taking temperature of your body, your bank book, your friendships, your reputation, and you wear a private frown even when you smile because the weight is yours. Fear is the proof. Fear says, I must arrange this, I must protect this, I must not fail. And as surely as you believe that, you must fear. Nobody can carry the universe on their back without trembling. Now then, when the Christ appears within, the weight falls. It is not that you become irresponsible. It is that responsibility moves to its rightful owner. You relax, physically, morally, spiritually. You never again feel the old responsibility for making your own life. Hear that without compromise. You never again feel it. You may be tempted to take it up. You may imagine yourself able, but the instant you remember, the instant you return to the hush, it drops as surely as a hand releases a rope. Why? Because my kingdom is not of this world, and in that kingdom there is no personal operator. There is governance. There is grace. Let me say it in the negative so you will recognize the shift by what disappears. No longer ruled by chance. Appointments line up as if someone knew the schedule. No longer ruled by calendars. Time ceases to be master and becomes a servant, arranging itself around guidance instead of anxiety. No longer ruled by outcomes, you do your part as given and leave the rest to the invisible order that brought you to that part. No longer ruled by other people's moods, you meet storm with quiet, accusation with a word given or with no word at all. No longer ruled by reputation, you stop editing yourself for applause or defense, and you find that integrity arranges its own vindication. No longer ruled by scarcity, you notice supply happening not by your manipulation, but because function, right function, is always supplied. no longer ruled by the body as tyrant. Care is given, rest is taken, treatment is sought or not sought without terror, and healing appears as a byproduct of inner rightness, not as a conquest of disease. Do you want it practical? Under grace, supply becomes automatic. Not magic, automatic. Where you are sent, supply is. The fish came with the coin because the instruction came first. You stop manufacturing needs to justify striving. You do the next given thing, and the next given thing carries its bread with it. Health becomes automatic in the same manner, not as immune perfection in a human sense, but as balance restored by obedience. If rest is the word, you rest. If a physician is the word, you go. If a prayerful stillness is the word, you are still, and you discover that the fear of symptoms was the greater disease. Direction becomes automatic. Doors open you did not knock on. Doors close you do not mourn. And the long detours which used to inflame you are revealed as exact routes when seen from the quiet center instead of from the clock. But am I to sit and do nothing? No, you are to cease being a private doer. You will act, speak, plan, even sign contracts, but you will not be the source of those motions. The motions will have the fragrance of take no thought, not apathy, not neglect, obedience. Under law, you live by shoving, push this, pull that, tighten here, cut there. Under grace, you live by yielding, listen, consent, move. The former exhausts, the latter renews as it spends. The difference is not visible to the world, but it is absolute in you. The same geography, the same street, the same kitchen, the same desk, another atmosphere. You are in the world, not of it. The scene still changes. The center does not. Now then, a hard saying, and it will set you free if you can bear it. Every time you fear, you are confessing independence from God. I am counting on making my demonstration without the help of grace. That is what fear says in plain language. Do not argue with me. Argue with your breath. Feel what happens in you at that statement. If it stings, it is medicine. When fear rises, do not dress it in holy talk. Do not name it prudence, caution, duty. Name it correctly, self-reliance, returning. Then, instead of polishing it, stop. Let a thought end. Return to the split second. Withdraw permission from tomorrow. In that hush, watch the false confession lose oxygen. You will not fight fear. It will wither because its premise has been denied. Under grace, fear cannot find footing. What of law? Law does not disappear from the human scene. Gravity still holds your plate to the table. Deadlines exist in offices. You will still write dates on checks, but you are not under that government. Those structures are scaffolding, not sentence. You stand inside another jurisdiction entirely. Paul said it, and the ear can hardly hear it. You are not under the law, but under grace. That is not a slogan. That is a change of citizenship. You report to another center. Orders do not come from panic or promise. They come from the one who is your life, and they come with the strength to carry them out. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. Accept that as a literal arrangement. You will notice another mark, rest in the middle of motion. The old you looked for rest as a vacation from strain. Under grace, rest goes with you. The body may be busy, the soul is unbothered. Your speech will be slower not in pace, but in origin. Words will have weight without pressure. You will find yourself being quiet instead of arguing, and when you must speak, you will already know. Counsel will come as if from behind you. You will not draft and redraft moral positions. The word will be there or it will not, and you will be content with either. That is government. That is grace. Do not advertise this transition. Keep it in your bosom. Nobody needs to hear your testimony to make it more true. If it is real, fruit will appear without your publicist. The ones who must be fed will be fed by your presence, not by your stories. Let the earth melt on its own schedule. You are not charged with managing appearances. You are charged with abiding, and abiding is nothing but fidelity to the split second whenever the personal I takes the wheel again. Now then, we remain in this world. Bills come, weather shifts, people forget promises. None of that is disgrace to spirit. But you will not live there. You will not find your life in those ebbs and flows. Your life is hid with Christ in God, which is to say, your life is hid in that instant where no private claimant stands between you and is. Live there, return there. Do what is to be done here, but from there. Then watch the marvel, the ordinary marvel, of the kingdom not of this world, arranging this world without a word from you. You will breathe and know why the Master could say, "My peace I give unto you," while the sea still moved. Government has changed. Law may describe the weather. Grace carries the boat. Now then, a correction that will not flatter the mind. The appetite for signs is the mind's demand that the inner kingdom submit its passport to the outer police. Show me in the sky. Show me in the headlines. Show me in dates and charts. All that is nothing but the personal I saying, "I will believe when the human scene salutes me with evidence." And the kingdom of God cometh not with observation. The moment you look out to prove an inner life, you have confessed that you believe God belongs to that outer world. My kingdom is not of this world. It isn't even an improved this world. And therefore no event in this world can deliver it, certify it, or cancel it. Do you see the paradox? Searching the human scene for God is the proof you think God is in the human scene, and that very belief bars you from the appearing that is already pressing at the door of your own consciousness. You stand at your window, eyes to the horizon, hungry for a comet, a war, a peace treaty, a disaster, or deliverance, and all the while the whisper is within saying, "Be still and know." The physical ear cannot hear that. The newsreader cannot announce it. Nobody can give you a headline that reveals spirit. And yet the seduction is strong because the ego lives by objects, facts to polish, dates to debate, enemies to defeat, allies to applaud. It will turn even prophecy into a sport. Now a hard saying, and take it as medicine. Nobody will be awakened by being right about events. You can predict with accuracy and still be asleep in God. You can miss every prediction and wake this hour. Wars and rumors of wars, the Master said, and then a sentence the ear loves to skip. See that ye be not troubled. Why? Because the trouble is not in the reports. The trouble is the reliance on reports for your peace, the minute your heart rises and falls with the graph of outer signs. You have placed your citizenship under law again, and fear becomes your tutor. An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. That is not an insult to the pious. That is a diagnosis of spiritual adultery. It is the soul married to appearances, cheating on the invisible with what can be counted and photographed. And if you insist upon a sign, you will be given only the sign of Jonah, the descent into the belly where the personal I must die and rise no more. Do you hear the translation? Tribulation is not God pounding the earth to frighten you into church. Tribulation is the agitation of personal sense as it finds its kingdom dissolving. The end of the world is the end of your false identity's world, the end of the regime in which you are king. Sun darkened. Let the metaphor do its sacred work. Your mental sun, your manufactured light of private certainty goes dim. Moon not giving light? Your reflected comforts and borrowed convictions fail to soothe. Stars falling. The fixed points of your belief system drop out. Heaven shaken. The high places in thought tumble, and you, if you can bear not to run, wake to what has never been shaken. Do not make a museum of symbols. Live them. When the inner lights go out, hold still. Do not rush to the newspapers for proof that God is near. God doesn't come near, God is. The nearness was always obstructed by your mental floodlights. Let them fail and behold what shines without bulb or battery. In that very hush, a split second where a thought ends and no proof replaces it, the Christ appears, not approaching, appearing. No trumpet outside announces it. The announcement is that relief which has no reason and needs none. My peace, not as the world gives, not as the world verifies. But are not the signs instructive? Are we not told to watch? Yes, watch. But watch what? Not the horizon for spectacles. Watch the threshold of thought for the trespasser called I. Lo here, lo there, they will say, and the master cut it off. The kingdom is within you. Within you where? In the now, where there is no yesterday to regret and no tomorrow to forecast. The minute you consult the calendar to find your salvation, you have departed the sanctuary. Try to live a minute from now. You cannot. It is a vacuum. And yet your prophecies love that vacuum. They love to rent apartments in the future and live there while the only door to God stands open and unused at this present instant. You will say to me, but the times are dark. Signs help me prepare. Prepare what? A stronger bunker for the personal I? Better arguments for the debate team? Let us be frank. Signs do not awaken. They stimulate. They feed the excitement of being on the right side of a contest imagined in the head. Awakening comes when the contest ends because the contestant resigns. If you must watch anything, watch the breath harden when fear speaks. Then stop. Let a thought end. Refuse the habit of peering outward to confirm inward life. Return again and again to the split second until the pull of observation weakens and the taste of presence sweetens. That is preparation. Preparation to be useless to panic and useful to grace. Now then, compassion with backbone. I know the itch. I felt it. I counted the clouds for omens. I read the waves for warnings. I thought being informed was being spiritual. It isn't. Intelligence about forms is good in its place, but it does not yield life. Life is discerned between the lines when the personal commentator stops the broadcast. Do not throw away your calendar or your newspaper. Throw away your reliance on them for peace. Use the world and bless it. Do not seek from it what it cannot give. Let this be plain for those who want steps. Each time you catch yourself scanning the horizon for comfort, news, patterns, confirmations, stop. Name it. I am trying to make the invisible pay rent to the visible. Then close the court. Enter the closet within. Withdraw permission from tomorrow. Allow one thought to end and do not replace it. In that hush, refuse to ask for a token. If a warmth comes, do not seize it. If nothing comes, do not despair. The kingdom is not a performance for your senses. Stay poor in spirit long enough for the personal. I to lose interest, and the appearing that is always present will be recognized. Do that today. Do it again this afternoon. Do it when tonight's headlines flare. And in time, not time as future, time as frequency, the now becomes stable and signs lose their power to seduce you out of your own life. In this way, you become awake while the world dreams of omens. You live by a government that owes no report to appearances. You still see storms, you still read dates, you still sign forms, but you do not ask them to confirm God. My kingdom is not of this world. Therefore, stop trying to catch it on camera. Let the earth melt on its own schedule and let the heart melt now. The only sign required has already been given, the ending of the operator in a split second of silence. Attend to that, and you will watch not skies, not seas, but the inner light that does not flicker until even the thought of proof seems like a child's toy you have outgrown. Now then, the straight and narrow is not a road out there with mile markers. It is a rule in here. Give up yesterday, give up tomorrow, none whatsoever. Not a little review of yesterday to prove a point. not a small reservation for tomorrow in case grace is late. Give up yesterday and tomorrow, none whatsoever. Return to now. This is the narrow way. Few find it because few will pay that price. What price? The surrender of the personal eye's favorite toys, memory to justify itself, and imagination to secure itself. If you keep either, you keep the kingdom at arm's length. The kingdom is not of this world, and time is of this world. Therefore, the moment you accept time as your environment, you have departed the kingdom. Try to live 1 minute from now. You cannot. It is a vacuum. Try to live 1 minute ago. You cannot. It is a photograph with no life in it. The rose blooms only now. Your breath meets you only now. Grace governs only now. So here is the practice, and it is a practice with a spine. The instant you find your mind in yesterday or tomorrow, stop. Do not adjust the furniture of your thought. Do not correct the sentence. Let one thought end and furnish no successor. Silence is not an achievement. It is the willingness to leave the seat vacant. In that split second, government changes, not by your permission, but by your absence. And the appearing is not a feeling, not a glow. Often it is simply the relief that needs no reason. My peace, not as the world giveth. Now then, fear. Be honest with it. When you fear, you are announcing, I am planning to live without God. That is its meaning, stripped and plain. You can call it prudence, you can call it adult responsibility. It is fear, and fear is the confession of independence. Nobody can be independent of grace and be at peace. So when fear rises, do not argue with it and do not dress it in sacred robes. Name it. Withdraw its credentials. How? Not by inserting a positive thought, not by shouting a verse at it. Withdraw the future it feeds on. Refuse it yesterday to chew. Stop. Let a thought end. Hold still in the split second. There, feel the rope drop. That drop is not your victory, it is your vacancy. Into vacancy rushes the order that has been waiting while you ran the show. You want the daily form? Let us be practical. At work, the email comes with a tone in it. The deadline moves closer. The stomach knots. Right there, not after you solve it, not after lunch. Stop. One breath, unclutched. Do not console yourself. Do not rehearse a response. Let a thought end. Wait just long enough to feel the chair under you and presence without an adjective. Then do the next given thing. It may be a sentence to write. It may be silence. It may be a call. It may be a walk around the building. Your action will not come from panic or pride. It will come as given, and it will carry its own peace. Under grace, function is supplied. In conflict, they accuse you. The body surges with defense. The tongue loves to jump first. Do not let it. Keep quiet long enough to end one thought. That is all. If a word is given, speak it. If none is given, bless your silence. You are not required to win. You are required to be governed. And you will discover, more times than not, that the soft answer that turns away wrath is not a technique. It is a word heard in the hush, or the absence of a word. Either may be exact. In lack, the bill sits on the table. The account looks thin. The mind begins to calculate. Do not build your altar to arithmetic. Mathematics is a principle, not a mood. 2 + 2 is 4, whether your eyes see 5 on the page or not. So it is here. Where you are sent, supply is. The coin is in the fish's mouth because the instruction precedes it. Stop, end one thought. Refuse the habit of forecasting tragedy. Then ask nothing. Listen. Do the next given thing. It may be to pay a portion. It may be to make a call. It may be to do the job in front of you with integrity so automatic you forget to angle for reward. Integrity is like the bank teller who hands back the extra dollar without drama. It is automatic. Under grace, supply is automatic in the same unadvertised way. In the body, a symptom speaks. Do not crown it king. Do not deny it either as if denial were faith. Stop. Return to the hush. From there, if treatment is the word, take it. If rest is the word, lie down. If prayerful stillness is the word, be still. The action is holy not because it is spiritual, but because it is obedient. The fear around it evaporates because its premise, I must manage this alone, has been removed. Cling to principle as a musician clings to tone. A beginner hits wrong notes all afternoon, but does not abandon the law of harmony. They return to the scale again and again until the hand remembers what the mind knows. So you will wander into yesterday. You will camp in tomorrow. You will hear fear speak fluent arguments. Keep quiet about your failures and go ahead and struggle. Do not dramatize it. Do not ask the room for sympathy. Struggle in private, which is to say, surrender in private. Return to the split second. If nothing seems to happen, stay poor in spirit. We are not making a performance to impress heaven. We are unmaking the performer. Make the practice plain. Set bells in your day, not on a clock, but on events. Every time a door opens, let it remind you. Stop, end one thought, enter. Each time the phone rings, before you answer, stop, end one thought, enter. Every time you sit down, stand up, reach for a handle, write your name, wait at a light. Small thresholds become holy doors, not as superstition, as training. You are not seeking special hours. The kingdom has no hour. You are seeking fidelity, and fidelity is repetition without strain. Now, then, now again. The mind will argue. It will say this is childish. It will say we must be realistic. It will say just this once, worry is responsible. Do not debate. Do not sermonize to your own head. Let a thought end. Don't replace it. That is all argument proof because it does not engage. You are not trying to win a case. You are dismissing the court. When the mind returns, and it will, use the return as your bell. Ah, I have stepped back under law. Stop. End one thought. Return under grace. If nothing sweet emerges, bless the dryness. The dryness is better than the fever of control. And if sweetness comes, do not clutch it. Gifts are not property. Presence is not a souvenir. Understand this strictness. Truth is not partial. If you keep one reservation, one pet tomorrow to polish, one honored yesterday to defend, you will find that the minute you deviate, you are lost to the atmosphere, though grace is not lost to you. Return. That is the whole secret, not success. Return. The straight and narrow is straight because it does not bend for your habit. It is narrow because it admits no baggage. Yesterday cannot pass that gate. Tomorrow has no ticket. Only now is admitted, and only no one can enter. Lay yourself down at the door. Now then, do not advertise your practice. Nobody needs your schedule. Nobody needs your report. If it is real, your day will speak it without a sentence. Your family will feel it as a ease that does not flinch. Your work will bear it as fitness without frenzy. The world may remain exactly as it appears, for a while, for a long while, for always, and yet the government within will have changed. You will be living the rule. Give up yesterday, give up tomorrow, none whatsoever. And in that fidelity, fear will find less and less oxygen, and personal effort will cease to be the axis of your life. Inner listening will take its rightful seat. My kingdom is not of this world. Live by that now, and now again, until the now is not something you return to, but the climate in which you remain. Now then, expansion. You have learned to return. You have felt, even faintly, the change of government when a thought ends and no operator rushes in. Do you imagine that such a kingdom can be kept for your tribe, for your church, for your nation, for your favorite kind of sinner or saint? My kingdom is not of this world, and nothing marks this world more loudly than the fences we build to prove that we are in and they are out. The minute the Christ appears within, fences lose their purpose. You cannot keep the light and keep the boundary. Try it and feel the light dim. Nobody can maintain a sectarian consciousness and receive the full appearing. It is an impossibility in principle. Do you remember Peter? Not a beginner, an apostle. He was hungry one noon, and while he waited for lunch, his old religion rose to bless him and to bind him. A sheet lowered in his vision, full of creatures he had always called unclean. The voice, "Rise, Peter, kill and eat." Peter, loyal to his past, said, "Not so, Lord. Nothing common or unclean has entered my mouth." And the voice returned what the physical ear can hardly hear. "Call not thou common or unclean what God hath cleansed." 3 times. And then a knock at the door. Strangers, Gentiles, the very people his training had taught him to avoid. The Spirit said, "Go," doubting nothing. Can you feel it? The inner voice first dissolves a category, then demands obedience that enacts the dissolution. That is the pattern. First the inward appearing, then the outward abandoning of the fence. If Peter had clung to his holiness code, the light would have narrowed to match his prejudice. The kingdom would have been reduced to a private club. Grace refused that reduction. It will refuse it in you. Now then, what does this mean where you live? Every person, practice, or people you have labeled unclean becomes your sheet full of animals. All your old "not so, Lord" replies are rising to be burned in the silence. You will say, "But surely not them, surely not that." And grace will not argue. It will simply wait for your thought to end. When it ends, 1 second, half a second, the same sentence rushes the emptiness. Call nothing common or unclean. Not because everything human is lovely. The human scene is a mix of masks. Call nothing unclean because my kingdom is not of this world, and the one who looks from that kingdom sees through forms to is, not will be, not used to be, is. The perennial answer from the sages, Moses hearing "I am that I am," Jesus declaring "I am," Buddha refusing metaphysical entanglement to sit under the tree of thusness, Lao Tzu pointing to the nameless Tao, Shankara insisting on the self that merely is. Different robes, one naked fact. Reality is being, not label. And when being is discerned, brotherhood is not achieved, it is revealed. Do you hear the correction hidden in this? Sectarian pride is spiritual adultery. We marry our little form of truth and cheat on truth with it. We say, God for us, not for them. Grace for our practice, suspicion for theirs. And the appearing dims. The practice that brought you to the door becomes the idol that bars the door. You cannot bring your banner through a door that admits only no one. Lay yourself down at the threshold, your badges, your club card, your moral resume, and you will find, to your surprise, that compassion is not something you do. It is the atmosphere that remains when the personal I is absent. Now then, practical marks of this enlargement. You will be less reactive. The old heat will not rise so quickly when another faith speaks, when another culture sings, when another conscience makes a different choice. You will notice the impulse to correct, to polish, to protect your brand. Do not scold yourself. Do not argue. Stop. Let a thought end. In that second, government changes, and a different response is given. It may be a word. It may be silence. It may be a simple kindness that leaves theology untouched. Judgment gives way to clarity. Clarity is not mush. Clarity is not anything goes. Clarity is the capacity to see what is needed without the smoke of superiority. Sometimes firmness is needed, boundaries drawn, but they are drawn as medicine, not as spite. The hand that draws them has no tremor of contempt in it. You will also find that evangelism as pressure dies. You do not hawk your way. You do not collect adherents. The fruit speaks. Presence heals, corrects, orders by being what it is. not by might nor by power. A neighbor of another persuasion is still an altar if you have eyes. A co-worker with habits you dislike remains your sheet of animals inviting obedience. Go, doubting nothing. If you are sent to speak, speak. If you are not, do not. Do not advertise. Nobody needs your testimony to make God true. If it is real, the ones who are to be fed will be fed by the quiet bread of your atmosphere. But some things are wrong. Shall we not call them so? Call them what they are in the human scene and refuse to enthrone them in your heart. You do not deny cruelty, dishonesty, or harm in forms. You deny them the right to define the life you live from. You call them transient. You call them a world picture. You call them the fog that lifts when the sun is recognized. You act as given, sometimes to resist, sometimes to withdraw, sometimes to embrace, but you never move from hate. Hate is a confession. I need an enemy to hold my identity together. Under grace, you need none. Your identity is hid with Christ in God, and therefore its light falls on the just and on the unjust as the sun does. That is not sentimentality, that is governance. Watch for the subtle sectarianism that hides in virtue. Our family is the kind that, our movement is the one that, our method is the only. The mind loves these blankets. They are warm and suffocating. Shake them off. Return to the split second. In that nakedness, without flag or team, you are not left homeless. You are at home everywhere. Then you can enter any room, any temple, any shop, any home, and be a blessing because you are not there to defend an emblem. You are there as transparency for is. This is the fruit of the inner coming. Compassion widens because there is less of you to be insulted. Help becomes cleaner because there is less fear of contamination. You do not rush to fix people. You abide until the word is given. And when it is given, you discover that the most practical aid often arrives in forms this world recognizes. Bread, listening, a ride, a payment, a silence. And yet the power behind them is not of this world. The ones you once called common will begin to reveal the common light. The ones you once called unclean will shock you with the holiness that stands behind their rough masks, and you will blush to remember your former fences. So let the sheet descend. Let it bring you the faces, causes, and practices your upbringing despised. Do not bargain, do not announce. Stop. Let a thought end. Consent to the voice. Call nothing common or unclean. Then wait for the knock that follows. It will come. It may be a person. It may be a headline. It may be a memory. Go, doubting nothing. In that obedience, the private Christ dissolves into the universal Christ, and you find yourself living in the world as a broad, quiet yes, still not of it, ever not of it, but present to it as the only atmosphere in which it can heal. My kingdom is not of this world, and therefore it belongs to all without exception, or it belongs to none. Let it belong through you now. Now then, let us end where we began, but rightly heard this time. The second coming is not an appointment on a calendar. It is not an air show across the sky. It is not the spectacle your senses can applaud. It is the present inward appearing of Christ in consciousness, not tomorrow, not when you become worthy, not after some world shakes itself into virtue. Now, the moment a thought stops and no replacement rushes to take command, the split second, truth enters without an introduction, and the personal I finds itself dethroned. That is the coming. That is the only coming you will ever need, and the only one you will ever receive. The physical ear cannot hear this. The physical tongue cannot speak it. It is discerned between the lines, under the words, in the space where you do not perform. We have said it and must say it again so that the rhythm fixes it in you. Not a future spectacle, but a present revelation. Not an outer arrival, but an inner appearing. Not time, but now. My kingdom is not of this world. It isn't even an improved this world. And because it is not of this world, no event in this world can deliver it. You cannot ride a train of time into a station called eternity. You step out of time and discover you have been home all along. This is the shock. This is the relief that requires no reason. Now then, a question the heart whispers. Does it stay? At first, no. It comes as seconds, as wisps, as a weightless piece between two beats of worry. Do not despise that smallness. Mustard seeds are heaven's humor. The light appears, goes, appears, goes. Do not chase it. Do not analyze it. Do not tell the room about it. Be faithful to the point of its appearing. How? Return. That is the only discipline. The mind will bargain for methods and numbers and lengths. Refuse it. Those are time's toys. Return. End one thought again and again until the habit of vacancy becomes so natural that the light no longer visits. It abides. It abides not because you held it, but because there is less of you to push it away. Stabilization is simply this. The government within changes hands and stops changing back. Up to that point, we are students of truth, seekers after God, rehearsers of principles. At some specific moment, 10 o'clock, midnight, 3 a.m., that will not matter. The hour will not consecrate it. The silence will. A change of consciousness takes place in which the words you loved become living truth, and you relax. You never again feel responsibility for your own life. Not because you are careless, but because care has found its rightful owner. The axis moves from personal management to grace. Under law, you calculate. Under grace, you are carried. Under law, you clutch. Under grace, you consent. The forms of your life may look the same: family, work, letters, bills, but the atmosphere is foreign to fear. You operate here and report there. In this world, not of it. Guard this governance. How? By refusing to re-elect the personal I. It wishes office. It will campaign with emergencies and triumphs. It will say, this one is too important for silence. This one requires a special kind of worry. Nobody in this room has an emergency so large it can be solved by the one who created the need for it, the personal manager. End a thought. Surrender the office. Watch how swiftly order appears when you stop appointing yourself to the throne. Spirit does not answer to your timeline. It answers to your absence. In that absence, answers are not guessed. They are given. And when they are given, they carry peace with them as their credential. My kingdom is not of this world. Repeat it when the world bids for your pledge. Not as defiance, but as reminder of your address. You have a public address and a private one. The public address is where mail and storms arrive. The private address is hid with Christ in God. Live from there. The winds will still blow, but they will not own you. You will still read reports, but you will not require them for peace. You will still love those given you to love, but you will not extract identity from their praise or their rejection. You are under grace now, and grace is a quiet government. It does not shout, it does not argue, it does not bid at the auction of appearances. It simply is, and because it is, you are. Do not imagine this will make you strange to life. It will make you exact for life. The bread you bake will not taste of hurry. The email you write will not smell of fear. The no you speak will not carry insult. The yes you offer will not manipulate. You will be in rooms that tremble and discover you do not tremble, even if your knees do, because the axis is not on display. In that way, you bless the rooms without announcing it. A blessing is not what you do, it is what remains when you stop doing. The sun does not issue statements about its light. It shines on the just and on the unjust. That is not sentimentality, that is governance. Do not advertise any of this. Keep quiet and go ahead and struggle until the struggle lightens of itself. Let your day speak. If you must give an account, Give it to the inner ear in the inner closet and close the door. Your Father that seeth in secret rewards in secret, rewards you with himself. That is the only reward that matters, because it is the only one that cannot be taken. And when the self that can be deprived is surrendered, deprivation loses its jurisdiction. Now then, a charge that has no drama. Stay in the now until the now is where you live, without trying. Abide until the light stays. How will you know it stays? You will forget to look for it. Searching ends. Performance softens. The flavor of your hours changes. Work is work and rest is rest, but the salt of anxiety is missing. You have not made a new world. You have found the other that was present in this one. You in the world, not of it. Before you leave this message, do not nod and hurry on. Stop. Close the book of tomorrow. Lay yesterday down without inscription. Let one thought end. Half a second is enough. Do not fill the gap. Do not ask for a sign. Consent to be no one for the space of a breath. Feel what remains without a reason. That is the appearing. That is the second coming as a now event. Now then, stay there. If the mind returns, and it will, use its return as your bell. Stop again. Enter again. This is fidelity. This is how the split second grows into an hour, and the hour into a day, and the day into a life where the light does not come and go, because you have ceased to stand in its way. Go then, not to do something great, to be nothing special in the hands of grace. Walk your street, sign your name, answer your children, do your accounts, meet your neighbor, do it as one rooted elsewhere. No longer hunting horizons for God, no longer managing outcomes to feel safe, no longer swept by the passions of the hour as if they were oracles. A quiet yes in the midst of noise. My kingdom is not of this world. Live from that kingdom until the world reveals its borrowed nature and bows without a word. And if it never bows, no matter, you have. And your bow is the doorway through which others may enter when their hour comes. Now then, now again, remain.